Welcome back to the Workman, Dwayne Carr. Again, pick it right up where we left off there. Turn to Habakkuk chapter 2. Habakkuk chapter 2. Look at another time here where a great period of time is separated by one verse or a punctuation mark, as we've been seeing time after time. Habakkuk 2, verse 13. Behold, is it not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire? And the people shall weary themselves for very vanity? Is God responsible? Many times, yes. He takes credit for it right there. Those Jews have suffered so for their rebellion against God. And let that be a lesson to each one of us when we rebel against God. God will chasten us, and he'll do it and sometimes in a very unpleasant fashion, my friend. Verse 14, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. So he jumps right out into the millennium there, the time when Jesus Christ is ruling on earth. Verse 13 there, Israel suffering under the Babylonian captivity, under Hitler and many things during the church age, and then boom, he jumps to 14, right on into the millennium, jumps right over into the glorious future when they will be reunited to him again. If you would turn to Isaiah 40, we'll look at a classic one here, one that we'll be seeing, spending quite a amount of time with when we start our second lesson on the two Advents. Critical passage here. Isaiah 40. Verse 1, comfort ye, my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her warfare is accomplished, and that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of the Lord's hand double for her sins. Familiar passage here, the voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight the desert a highway unto our God. Every valley shall be exalted, every mountain and hill shall be made low, the crooked shall be made straight, the rough places plain, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Very complex passage here that we'll be spending much time on in the future. But if you look right here, 1 and 2, was she forgiven? Yes, they were forgiven. If they'd received her Messiah, it would have been fine, but they didn't. So she is now recompensing double, receiving double for her sins. So verse 1 and 2, did they happen to first Advent? No, pushed out to the second Advent. Verse 3, first Advent, John the Baptist. Verse 4 and 5, right back to the second Advent. Second Advent, first Advent, second Advent. And we'll see much more of that later on. Israel now, of course, because they did reject their Messiah, how they've suffered. John 19:15, they said, we have no king but Caesar. Rejected Jesus Christ, his blood be upon us and upon our children, Matthew 27:25. That's why Paul wrote in 1 Thessalonians 2, for the wrath of God is come on them to the uttermost. Double. Pray for those Jews, folks. Please pray for those Jews that they be saved. Please pray for those Jews. And moving on, Zechariah, we'll hit one more here. Zechariah chapter 9. Tale of our Old Testament, next to last book, Zechariah chapter 9. Here's a very clear one. You can see very easily. Zechariah 9:9, rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem, behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding upon an ass, and upon a colt, the foal of the ass, as we had back in Genesis 49, triumphant entry on Palm Sunday into Jerusalem, first Advent. Verse 10, boom, and I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim. Second Advent, cut off the chariot from Ephraim. That's a reference. Micah 5, 9 to 11, you'll find that. And the battle bow shall be cut off. Second Advent again, Psalm 76, 1 to 3. And he shall have peace, speak peace unto the heathen. Second Advent, Haggai 2, 7 and 9. And his dominion shall be from sea to sea, and the ends of the earth. Second Advent, Psalm 72, 8, Isaiah 49, 6. You want to check those references. I encourage you, always check the references. Don't believe anything anybody tells you. Check it out in this book. Be like the Bereans in Acts 17. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica. They received the word with all readiness of mind and search the scriptures daily. What are those things be so? Check your preacher. You keep him on his toes and make him a better preacher. One last place I want to look at, Isaiah 53. Isaiah chapter 53, the great chapter. Love this chapter. All that Christ did for us. Horrible suffering to purchase our salvation. But in with what we're doing here, seeing the two Advents together, if you look at verse 10, 53:10, it says, Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. First part of the verse, pleased the Lord to bruise him. He put him to grief. Made his soul an offering for sin. Obvious, first Advent, on the cross. He shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days. Second Advent. Church age. We're that seed. Keep your hand here. Turn back to Psalm 22, the other famous Old Testament passage on the crucifixion. No accident that is where we find a reference in the other crucifixion psalm. It's the way God put this book together. Whoa, what a book. At the end of the crucifixion psalm, which begins with, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Clearly telling us what it is. If you look at the end of this, and I hope you held on to Isaiah 53, verse 30 says, a seed shall serve him. There is that seed, Isaiah 53. It says he shall see his seed. That is a seed that Jesus Christ produced. Remember John 12:24. Put his seed into the ground. If it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. We, the church-age Christians that are born again, washed in the blood of the Lamb, are that seed that Jesus Christ, it says he shall see his seed here in Isaiah 53:10. And in here in Psalms 22, it says a seed shall serve him. There's your job. Are you serving him? Right there it is. You better pay attention to that. A seed shall serve him. It shall be accounted to the Lord for a generation. They shall come and shall declare his righteousness unto a people that shall be born that he hath done this. There's your calling and your job, every Christian. Declare his righteousness. Now you notice that word generation in verse 30 as well. Back in Isaiah 53, look at verse 8. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? There it is. I'll tell you who's supposed to declare it. You and me. You'd better be busy declaring what Jesus Christ did for you. Folks, even if you're a new Christian, if you don't know anything else, if you just go tell somebody what Jesus Christ did for you and how he saved you. Your testimony is the most powerful thing you have. Just tell them how you got saved. And get in this book and learn so you can tell them more. Now, folks, this opening lesson, I'm concluding now. The purpose of it has been to show you what God expects from every one of his children. The seed that Jesus Christ produced here, he brought forth. Every one of us are to put forth the effort to learn that book he has given us. And the key he has told us is right division. Now, it is the only way to get the book right. I have showed you all these verses on the two Advents, how they're right together, over and over. And this caused confusion with the Jew, and it causes confusion now among people in the church age, and that's what we're going to get into in our next lesson on the two Advents. I sure hope that you will be with us for that. Now, there's a lot of good people out there listening to me right now who have been taught some things that are just not right, folks. And if you want the truth, it's a choice you must make. With God's guidance and His direction, we hope to give many of you a fresh look at the two Advents and how critically important it is to get the scriptures regarding them right. So please watch with an open mind. Ask God to show you the truth. And if some of it goes against what you've been taught, study the scriptures and see the truth and be ready to accept it. Please tune into our next series on the two Advents. We're really going to get into some meat. God bless you. Dwayne Carter, Workman, out.